Pakistan has declared an open war against Afghanistan after bombing the capital city of Kabul. The attacks took place in an early morning air raid at 1:50 a.m. local time. At least 3 explosions were heard in Kabul, and separate bombings are also being reported in Kandahar and Paktia. Afghanistan spokesperson claims that nobody was hurt during any of the 3 attacks. However, Pakistan spokesperson has already refuted the claim, saying 133 Afghans have been killed and 200 injured. He further said that more casualties are expected. In the same statement, Islamabad has claimed that 27 Afghan Taliban posts have been destroyed, 9 have been captured, and over 80 tanks, artillery pieces, and armed personnel carriers have been destroyed. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has affirmed that the people of Pakistan and its armed forces are fully prepared to protect the country.
I think Pakistan will not tolerate the Afghan soil being used against Pakistan for terrorist attacks, and the Afghan soil actually being not only being used, but the terrorists are getting training in Afghanistan. They are crossing the border into Pakistan, carrying out these attacks. So we made it abundantly clear that any such attempt will be given a very befitting response.
Now, tensions have been brewing for the last few weeks. Hours before the Kabul attack, Islamabad accused the Afghan Taliban of launching what they call were unprovoked attacks along the border. In that attack, Taliban claimed it killed 55 Pakistani soldiers and also took control of 19 Pakistani military positions. The fighting was majorly concentrated around the border till today morning, which is also known as the Durand Line. And this line is where the fundamental problem between Afghanistan and Pakistan lies. This is a 2,640 kilometers long border. It stretches from Iran in the southwest to the narrow Wakhan corridor near China in the northeast and India in the southeast. This border cuts through some of the most rugged terrain in the world. Mountains, deserts, and tribal areas, including Pakistan's provinces of Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and Afghanistan's regions like Nangarhar and Kandahar. Not to anyone's surprise, this difficult-to-manage border was a gift from the colonial British. The border was the brainchild of this guy, Henry Mortimer Durand, a British diplomat, which is why this border is still known as the Durand Line. It is one of the most disputed borders in the world. No Afghanistan government, including the 2 stints of Taliban, have recognized the Durand Line as an international border, which has contributed to decades of tension, cross-border militancy, and security fiction. And geopolitics has its own ways of complicating borders. The story began in the 1980s, when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan during the Cold War. The US saw this as a threat and immediately put the CIA to work. Pakistan, a young 30-year-old country at the time, wore its Muslim nation tag proudly and saw communism near its border as a threat. So Islamabad, along with Saudi Arabia and the United States, started pouring money and weapons to a section of the Afghans, known as the Mujahideens. Today, the country's foreign minister calls it a mistake.
Our participation in the 80s in war in Afghanistan against Soviet Union was a mistake.
But when the Soviets left in 1989, the race to power began, and the chaos gave birth to a new force, the Taliban. The United States and Pakistan-backed Afghan fighters teamed up with students and tribals to take over Kabul in the year 1996. For a while, Pakistan saw them as strategic allies, since its intelligence body, the Inter-Services Intelligence, also known as the ISI, had good relations with some of them. But after 9/11, this was the turning point when the US invaded Afghanistan to dismantle Al-Qaeda. Pakistan switched sides. And this was seen as a stab on the back for many Taliban fighters who were once nurtured in Pakistan's tribal belt. They accused Islamabad of betraying Islam, and in 2007, a new group was formed, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, now known as TTP. The 20-year-long invasion of the United States complicated global geopolitics. But for Pakistan, which sits just 200 kilometers from Kabul, saw its backyard turn into a graveyard of empires.
Then after 9/11, we again became a conduit of American effort in Afghanistan. instead of recognizing our contribution, which today, when we look back in hindsight, we can say with full confidence that it was a mistake. After 9/11, we again repeated the same mistake. And what happens today, that Americans are accusing of harboring terrorists. Americans are accusing of having sanctuaries on our soil.
And that decision brought consequences. 2025, last year, was a deadly year for the country, the worst in a decade. And Islamabad claims that most of these attacks were funded by the Afghan Taliban government and carried out by the TTP. Their methods are brutal. One of the deadliest attacks was in 2014 on an army-run school in Peshawar. More than 130 children were killed. Islamabad and Kabul have sat down for multiple rounds of diplomacy to put an end to this cycle of violence. After the Taliban returned to power in 2021, Pakistan initially expected smoother relations. It gave hope, given its historic ties with the group. The two sides have had local military commandos meet, focused on trade, not on terror, high-level visits from Taliban's Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi to Islamabad, even a ceasefire agreement just in October last year. But this is how they have been engaging in shifting the blame. The following sound bites are from 3 months ago.
The scourge of terrorism is, however, raising its head yet again, and this time, unfortunately, Afghan soil. As we are dealing with this menace, we need the international community to urge the Afghan Taliban regime to fulfill its international obligations and commitments and rein in terrorist elements operating from its territory.
We wanted to convey to the world that these evils exist on their soil and that a specific circle within their military supports them. The world must pay attention to them. Pakistan has initiated propaganda at high levels regarding Afghanistan.
Today, these war of words have reached the streets of Pakistan and Afghanistan. The last time Kabul was bombed by a foreign power, it triggered decades of blowback. But that was the United States. We can't say for certain what Pakistan will choose here on. But if history is anything to go by, wars have rarely ended the way they're imagined at the beginning in Afghanistan. I'm Ananya Dutta, and this is a developing story. Watch this space for the latest. Thanks for watching.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.